Well, so let me ask you about that. You want to reopen the economy, right?
Correct. Should be 100% open.
So then why not have masks? Because you have a lot of people who are following the science on this. They look at all of these studies that show that mask wearing saves lives, and they're more likely to participate in the economy. You
totally
have
fine with
Walmart,
that.
and today today Walmart, Sam's Club in Alabama, the Republican governor in Alabama, putting in place mask mandates. They disagree with you. They think that this is constitutional, and they think it's good business. What do you say to that?
Well, the governor of Alabama has done a horrible job, and I think the voters are going to throw her out of office. But more importantly, when you look at the mandate versus a voluntary mask wearing a suggestion where government actually incentivizes and says, hey, listen, we'd like you to wear masks, here are free masks, et cetera. I'm okay with that. If government wants to incentivize and recommend masks, as they've done in many places, that's going to get a lot of compliance, period. But they don't. That's a that's a very different role government's playing versus actually penalizing people with 60 days in jail. It's out of control. We don't need government putting people in jail in the middle of a big economic recession. It's terrible.
Okay, well,
move.
to be clear, these are monetary fines that we're talking about. But do you wear a mask?
In the case of DeLand, let me be specific about that. In the case of DeLand, it is a monetary fine. Some of the fines are quite high. St. Augustine, another one of my cases, $500 per occurrence. But a lot of the largest urban areas, including Orange County, Orlando, my backyard, it's actually a second-degree misdemeanor. That's out of control. But to answer your question on the masks, if I went to a hospital like the president did, or I went to a place that would be considered medically sensitive,
do you wear one at the grocery store?
Absolutely not. I maintain social distance, though.
Okay, but you know that a new study, a good study out of Japan shows that indoor transmission is almost 20 times higher than it is outdoors. So when you go into a grocery store and you're not wearing a mask, you're comfortable putting workers who work there and other patrons at risk by not wearing a mask?
The studies that I've seen, the studies that have been most popular over the last 100 days of this crisis have said mask or social distancing. So if you're maintaining basic social distancing like I do, there's no reason to have an additional mask on top of that.
Everyone should wear a cloth cover, according to the CDC, in public settings and when around people who don't live in your household, especially when other social distancing measures are difficult to maintain. It doesn't say just when they are not. This is the CDC. This is government guidance based on science. But then I'm just curious, why wouldn't you wear a mask in a grocery store? What is it about the mask that you don't like?
Well, to be actually quite honest, I hardly ever go to the grocery store. I like to eat out, and I do that a lot more often, so I'm not in a position to be asked to wear a mask.
Okay, well, you've talked about being in the grocery store. So you said you don't wear a mask in a grocery store. Why would you not wear a mask in a grocery store? What is it that is a problem with the mask for you?
To repeat my point, if you're basically keeping a social distance from people, you're not getting too close, you're fine. You don't need to wear a mask on top of that.
That's not true. Why is it? Do you find it uncomfortable? You've said it's annoying, right? Publicly, you've said it's annoying and it's hard to breathe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it is. I mean, obviously, a lot of my clients are people with asthmatic conditions, and it's extremely difficult. Listen, this is Florida. It's about 100 degrees outside.
But there's Representative, there's exceptions for people who have conditions that make it hard for them to breathe if they choose to not wear a mask.
And if you read the legal complaint of the lawsuit, what you'll find is that those exceptions are written in such a vague way that essentially most businesses and government itself are in a position to immediately want to deny it. So when you walk into a store and you say, listen, I have an illness or asthma, what's happening is you're getting actually bullied and harassed by businesses and government officials to wear a mask. They actually aren't trained. Most code enforcement, law enforcement are not trained on spotting your illness or subjective sensory disability, and so they're pushing you to wear masks. So really, these masks are actually creating even more havoc than violating the Constitution, but actually causing direct harm in people's lives by incentivizing bullying and harassment. It's terrible.
Do you know anyone who's died from COVID?
I'm aware of people who have. No one very close or on a first-name basis with me have died.
Who are you aware of who has died?
Because I'm a state representative, I hear about the names of the people in my community who died, and sometimes people do know them.
And it's proven that masks save lives. Wouldn't you want to see their lives saved?
I think the importance of masks, there is some importance to masks. I think that the media is grossly exaggerated their effectiveness in certain circumstances, to the point where people literally think if they have a mask, they're not going to get COVID, when it's just a drop in the bucket in terms of precautions you can take.
The media is repeating what public health experts are saying. I mean, just to be clear, you're not a doctor and you're not a public health expert, right?
Well, don't forget that just 2 months ago, these public health experts. Well, let me say this. 2 months ago, these exact same public experts.
You're not. I'll just answer it for you, but go on.
Citing with authority said, do not wear masks. What do you say about that?
What do I say that at the time they said they were protecting healthcare workers, and I say there's been a lot of discussion about that initial recommendation, as there should be, Representative, but that's not mutually exclusive with what you are saying here.
Yeah, no, hey, listen, the CDC is going to recommend a whole lot of things. People should take those things with great interest, but they should not make those things something that if you don't listen to, you're going to be punished in the eyes of the government. You're actually going to be sent to jail, arrested, hit with civil fines. That's really what the lawsuits revolve around, the role of government.
Okay, and just to point out, so far in your cases, we're monitoring one loss at this point of a county that disagrees with you. You are not a doctor. You're not a scientist, Anthony Sabatini. Thank you for coming on.